Morning all from a very windy and cold Abbotsford, and here we are with a 7-game night in the National Hockey League for your Wednesday, starting with 2 at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, and then sprinkled through the rest of the evening. The latest starts being at 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. So there are no 7:30 starts today, there are tomorrow. So 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between the New Jersey Devils and the Florida Panthers. I was trying to figure out whether I would wear Florida or New Jersey for this preview, and I decided to go with Colorado. I have no idea what to expect between these two teams. December 17th, Florida wins 4-2. The third and final meeting will be March the 18th. New Jersey's having some trouble with getting wins recently, and Florida, their inconsistencies off the charts. For New Jersey, they're 21-9-2 overall. They've scored 108 goals. They've allowed 81. In the first period, they scored 28 goals. Second period, 44 goals. Third period, 33 goals. And in overtime, they've had 3. So their best period for scoring is the second period, which is not that unusual in the National Hockey League. That's your long change. Some teams are really good at taking advantage of that. But over their last 10, they're 3-5-2, and they're definitely having some troubles. On the Florida side, they are as well. They're 15-14-4. They've scored 110 goals. They've allowed 110 goals. First period, 32 goals. Second period, 38 goals. Third period, 40 goals. In overtime, they don't have a goal yet. Their last 10 games, they're 5-5. So again, I have no idea what to expect in this one. It could be a fun game because, there's no way of telling what you're going to get from either team. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between Tampa Bay and Detroit. Detroit stole one on December 6th where they won 4-2. Ville Husso put the team on his back. The thing is, can he do it 2 games in a row? So they'll play again on February 25th as well as April 13th. For Tampa Bay, they're coming off the loss last night in Toronto. They're 20-10-1. They've scored 111 goals. They've allowed 89. First period, they scored 35 goals. Second period, 27. Third period, 44. And in overtime, they have 5. So very good in overtime. And honestly, it's kind of surprising to me that they have a lower number in the second period, but some teams do. Last 10 games, they're 7-3. On the Detroit side, 90 goals scored, 99 goals against for the 13-11-7 Wings. First period, they scored 23 goals. Second period, 34 goals. Third period, 32 goals. So they're a little better with the long change in the second period as well. In overtime, just 1 goal so far this year. Their last 10 games, they're 2-5-3. So it has been going in the wrong direction for Detroit over the last little while here. We'll see whether or not they can pull themselves out of it. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific start between Montreal and Colorado. This is the first of 2 meetings. They'll meet again March the 13th. Montreal is now 15-15-2. They've scored 88 goals this season. They've allowed 112. First period, 25 goals. Second period, 25 goals. Third period, 35 goals. And in overtime, they've got 3. So they pick up energy as the game goes along. Last 10 games, they're 4-5-1. So, again, there's no pressure on the Montreal Canadiens. They're just having some fun. For Colorado, there is some pressure. They're 17-11-2. They've scored 88 goals. They've allowed 80. They've scored 23 goals in first periods, 33 goals in second periods, 30 goals in the third period, and 2 goals in overtime. Last 10 games, they're 5-4-1. One thing that stands out when you look at the scoring by period, you can see that scoring in the first period is much lower than it is in the second and the third. But I do think Colorado should win this tonight over Montreal, but we'll see what happens. 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific start between Nashville and Chicago. This is the first of 3 meetings. They'll meet again March 4th as well as March 16th. For the Nashville Predators, it's simple. They've got to keep things going. They've got to get on a positive run here. St. Louis looks like they're getting it together. And really, honestly, the West is not going to be as easy to get into the playoffs as some might insinuate. So they're 13-13-4. They've scored 74 goals. They've allowed 92. That's their first problem. They got to even that number out. First period, they're scoring 23 goals. Second period, 27 goals. Third period, 21 goals. And in overtime, 3. They're not scoring enough. Last 10 games, they're 4-4-2. On the Chicago side, they're 7-19-4. There's a lot that's gone wrong for Chicago. They're scoring 68 goals this year. They've allowed 114. So that's an issue. 13 goals in the first period. Yeah, just 13. That's by far the worst, even though this is a board that also has Anaheim on it. 30 goals in the second period, 23 goals in the third, 2 in the overtime. Last 10 games, they are 1-9. So Chicago has really fallen off. 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific start between the Oilers and the Dallas Stars. November 5th, Dallas wins 6-2. The third and final meeting will be on March the 16th. So for the Oilers, they're 17-14-2, and there's a lot of discussion about what is or isn't wrong with the Oilers. 118 goals scored, 113 goals allowed for the Oilers. 26 goals in the first period, and then they really get it going. 45 goals in both the second and the third, 2 in the overtime. But over their last 10, they're 4-4-2. So they need to figure this out. On the Dallas front, they've had some shaky moments lately, too. They're 19-8-6 overall, 118 goals scored, 89 goals allowed, 33 goals in the first period, 37 goals in the second period, 46 goals in the third, so they get better as the game goes along. In the overtime, just the 2 goals. Last 10 games, they're 6-2-2. So for Dallas, they need this one. Edmonton works as underdogs. Do they qualify as underdogs here on some level? Probably from a gambling perspective, but realistically, they shouldn't be. So, yeah, we'll see. 10 Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific start between Arizona and Vegas. November 17th, Vegas wins 4-1. The third and final meeting will be January the 22nd. Vegas needs this. Honestly, they're below 500 at home. Arizona coming in should be a slam dunk victory for them, but we'll see. The Arizona Coyotes are 10-15-5. They've scored 83 goals this year. They've allowed 108. First period, 16 goals, so almost as anemic in the first period as Chicago. 29 goals in the second, 37 goals in the third, and in the overtime, 1 goal scored. Last 10 games, they're 3-5-2, but if you don't outwork them, they can beat you. On the Vegas side, they're 22-11-1. They've scored 110 goals this year. They've allowed 94. 38 goals in the first period, 27 goals in the second, 41 goals in the third period, and 4 goals in the overtime. Last 10 games, they're 5-5. So Vegas still comfortably atop that division, although that leads down to 4 points now. So I do wonder if Vegas is going to get this turned around. We shall see. But tonight's a good night to get that started. 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern start between the Minnesota Wild and the Arizona's playing twice tonight. Anaheim Ducks. The November 9th meeting, Minnesota wins 4-1. The December 3rd meeting was a 5-4 shootout victory for Minnesota, so Minnesota's going for the season sweep over the Anaheim Ducks. Minnesota's 18-11-2 overall, 97 goals scored, 88 goals allowed. 28 goals in the first period, 32 goals in the second period, 35 goals in the third, and 2 in the overtime. Last 10 games, they're 8-2. Minnesota's playing extremely well right now. We'll see how it goes tonight. On the Anaheim side, they're 9-21-3. 78 goals scored, 137 goals against. 28 goals in the first period, 22 goals in the second, 24 goals in the third, 4 goals in overtime. So they're one of those rare teams that has the most goals in the first period for themselves. Last 10 games, they're 3-6-1, and they're coming off of that loss last night against LA. So Minnesota should win this one. We'll see how things go. Sometimes those should wins can turn into losses. But let me know your picks in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.